the conversation of moving on. It's a tough conversation that we never have with our parents, with our teachers. A lot of the times when we experience situations where we need to learn the art of moving on, it is oftentimes shielded from us by our teachers, our parents, our elders, and the example of death and the example of moving to a new city where you will make new friends, enter new schools. It's hidden from us because we don't want to, the elders don't want us to feel the full-fledged force of that pain. That's part of the problem. The pain that comes with the confusion of knowing when and how, if it's time to move on, is pain that every human has to experience. It is literally a part of the human experience. The human life cycle naturally teaches us how to move on. And so now we become adults that don't know how to deal with grief, don't know how to resolve pain. And we always find ourselves searching for the answer, or for thoughts or perspective, or searching for some guru to tell us how to move on. No guru can tell you how to move on. No guru can tell you why you need to move on. It is something that naturally occurs. And so it is up to you to listen to yourself. If you believe that, it's up to you to listen to yourself. It's up to you to trust yourself, because moving on is not it's not a button. It's not a light switch. It's not something you just hit and then it's done and it's over. It is a process. And so, if you will, I'd like to share with you a thought on moving on how to move on, how to keep yourself in check if you're not moving on. Thinking is normal, and what happens is we think a little bit too much about this process, about how we feel, how it makes us feel, how we could feel. We think about the potential of what could have been. What if they would have stayed, or what if they would have came back, or what if they would have answered your phone call that one night? Everything would have been different. You think of things like this. And you're definitely allowed to. If that's what you want to do, that's what most of the world is going to do. Most of the world is going to suffer in this process. So if you want to suffer, you can. You don't have to, but you can. And so the thinking is normal, but the overthinking and the obsession with trying to forecast some alternative outcome, that is what's going to ruin your ability to move on. And so you have to make a decision. But here's the deal. This decision is not a one-time decision. It's not a one-day decision. It is a decision you're going to have to repeat. Sort of like this. Think about it like this. If you're trying to move on, don't look at it like you just need to hit the game-winning shot in basketball. And like, there's only win or lose. You got to move on. It doesn't work that way. Think about it like this. NBA basketball game is 48 minutes. There's 4 quarters, 2 halves, 5 starters on each team, 1 basketball and 2 hoops, right? And so in basketball, your goal is to score as much as you can in the time allotted, right, before the time expires. But that's one goal. The other goal is to keep the other team from scoring more than you scored in that time allotted, right? So you have offense, you have defense, right? The same applies for when you're trying to move on. You have to play hard in the first quarter, in the second quarter, in the third quarter, in the fourth quarter. You have to execute the team's plan. in order to win, right? You're playing high-level basketball. This analogy applies to your life when you're trying to move on. You're going to have different quarters, different phases of the experience, different phases of the game. So when you first come out and you know, hey, I got to attack this thing. I got to try to get a lead, right? I got to try to get a lead. So I got to get ahead. I got to do what I got to do to help me move on. So what does that look like, right? I don't want to just give you poetry because you might not get the poetry. So let me give you something. Maybe that means you remove their iTunes, their songs off iTunes. Maybe that means you remove their clothing from the house or remove them from a social network. Your pictures with you and them from a social network. Why are those things still on there? You remove those things. Those things carry attachment. You remove all physical things that carry attachment. That's your first quarter right there of moving on. Remove the physical attachments. All right, so now you do that. Now you're winning the first quarter. Second quarter starts, and you want to build on that lead, but they're gonna fight back. And so you strengthen your bonds, right, with your friends, with your family, with yourself. Anywhere where you are, you strengthen your bonds. You become become a better employee, be a better friend, be a better business owner, whatever you do. Right, and that process right there is called self-love, love for others. It's the same thing. You get the most that you can to yourself and to others. Because while you're in a relationship with whoever you were with, you probably didn't give everything you could have to your friendships, and that's okay. I'm sure people can understand that. And so now you bring that back. You come back full circle. Self-love, love for others, right? That's quarter two. And now you reach halftime. And where on TV, it looks like halftime is to take a rest, to take a break. That's not what halftime is for. Sure, there is a physical rest that happens, which is natural. But halftime is so the coaches and the teams can talk about what has happened. Hey, how are we doing with our first and second quarter strategies? Are we winning? Are we losing? Let's check in on our injuries. What are they doing that we can exploit? What are they doing that we can take advantage of? What are we doing well right now that we can build on? This is what halftime is about in sports. The same thing applies for your moving on process. So after you remove the physical things and after you start giving love to yourself and others, then it's halftime. So you have that coaching session with yourself, and this is where self-awareness is. This is where self-awareness is so important. What am I doing? Am I winning? Am I losing? Am I fighting this battle effectively? Do I have the right strategy? Do I have the right? You got to think like a coach. You got to think like a business person. Do I have the right people in the right places to execute, to make the best decisions possible, right? So then what you do is you adjust your plan. Okay, cool. I keep running in. Here's an example. I keep running into my ex at the gym. You know what? When I don't see him or her, I do well. But as soon as I see him or her, these emotions just rush back. So you know what? Now I got to switch my gym membership. Right? Boom. There you go. That's halftime. That's called a halftime adjustment. Right? So you create this plan for how you're gonna move on. Right? Which your body does naturally, but you just have to listen. You have to allow it. You create this plan. Then at halftime, you got to adjust. Damn, okay, I'm not doing this right. Okay, let me adjust. Let me switch this up. Then you come out, right? Third quarter, and you want to completely jump on your opponent. And in this analogy, the opponent is the art of moving on, the ability to move on. All right, so you jump out, you move on. Maybe you start dating someone else. You start investing your time over here with this person. Maybe you move. Maybe you move somewhere. These are all possible things that would happen in the third quarter. Maybe you move somewhere else because you're tired of seeing them and their friends, and you gotta share a common peer group. So You move so you don't have to see this person, even if it's 15 minutes away, just to change the demographics of who you'll be seeing, who you'll be entertaining. There's nothing wrong with that. It's one of the healthiest things you can do, if you ask me. If you're willing to move to completely start your life over, even if it's only 15-25 minutes away, I mean, that's changing your gyms, that's changing your commute to work, that's changing the people in your neighborhood, that's changing the stores you go to. That's a big deal to me. If you're willing to move because you want to move on from somebody, in my mind, in my perspective, in my opinion, which doesn't mean anything, but in my opinion, I think that shows that you're trying to take care of yourself. I think it does. But see, that's how the third quarter goes. Everything seems to be going well, and then that fourth quarter comes of any sporting event, especially in basketball. You can have a 10-point lead, but in that fourth quarter, people start to play hard. And so you have to think about it like this. You're coaching your team, and your objective is to win the game, which means you're trying to move on from your ex, right? Stay with us. We've been using this analogy the whole time. So now that 10-point lead is gone. It's a tie game. It's 2 minutes left. 90 seconds left. 70 seconds left. There's 1 minute left. 45 seconds left. 30 seconds left. And now that anxiety gets stronger, right? That anxiety gets much stronger because it's a tie game with 30 seconds, 20 seconds. The anticipation of every play gets much more intense. The consistent worrying gets deeper. The nights where you can't sleep, they get stranger, they get longer. Your other relationships start to suffer because you think about the potential that you and this person had. No. This is 10 seconds left, 9 seconds left, 8 seconds left, 6 seconds left. The ball is in your hands right now. Tie game. You're dribbling. You look up at the clock. You see 4 seconds left, 3 seconds left, 2 seconds left. You step to your right. You dribble. Boom. Shoot the ball. The ball feels like it's in the air for an eternity. You can see the leather on the ball spin and spin. The revolutions keep going over and over as the ball turns over itself. You have no idea if the ball is going in or if it's going to miss. What really only lasts a split second feels like an eternity, and that is the process of moving on. If that ball is going to go in, it is only going to go in with perfect form, with perfect concentration, with perfect focus of the plan, with sticking to what coach taught you or what you taught your player. Focus on the end goal, which is to make the decision to move on.